All right, welcome back to another episode of Off the Post Goes Grassroots. This is a Grassroots series where we take a look at women's soccer underneath the NWSL level in the United States. This is Jake, and I'm bringing you a special guest who happens to be from a town that I used to live in. He is currently the head coach of the Columbus Eagles FC. I was a grad student at Ohio State for 2 years, so this is a city that's close to my heart. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on tonight.
All right. Well, let's start with getting to know you a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in the game, coaching background, how you got involved in the women's game?
Oh my goodness, that's a very long story. The short story is that I've been coaching nearly 20 years. I got into coaching because of my youngest daughter needing a coach when she was 9 years old. And I fell in love with the game. I started taking every coaching license I could get my hands on, and after, 10, 15 years, I ended up with a United States Soccer Federation National B license, a NSCAA Advanced National license, and a goalkeeping diploma, and many soccer games under my belt, all the way from 8-year-old kids now to the adult women.
Wow. And are you a native Columbus resident? Or?
No, I'm kind of a transplant, although the fact is I've lived in my current location longer than I ever lived in any other place. So I guess what defines as a native. I was born and raised up in Northwest Ohio.
Oh, I'm from Northwest Ohio too as well.
Yeah. Little tiny towns that nobody would ever know of. But it certainly was a football area. There was no soccer at the time when I was growing up. And so I came to soccer later in life, but absolutely fell in love with it. And I was a follower of the 99ers, so to speak, followed that group of women as they blazed the trail for young women across the world. I was fascinated, took my family to Chicago to watch the 1999 Women's World Cup semifinals or whatever it was then. And just was amazed by 60,000, 70,000 people packed into these stadiums watching these women play from all over the world. And just, just connected with me, and been a women's soccer advocate ever since.
Great. Well, just out of my own curiosity, what small town in Northwest Ohio are you from? I grew up in Findlay, and now I live in Perrysburg.
All right. Well, my family's from Findlay.
Oh, wow.
But I spent my elementary years in Bloomdale, Ohio, which you might or might not know, up on Route 18, and then a little town called Burgoon over in the Lakota High School district is where I graduated from. So little tiny towns.
Wow, what a small world this is.
Absolutely.
So can you random. I have not known anyone from Northwest Ohio who's gone on to these heights in the women's game anyway. So can you explain a little bit about the story behind how Columbus Eagles got started? Did you start to love yourself, or was there a bit of a community effort behind that?
Well, it really is an outcropping of the fact that I was really excited after the 99 World Cup that they were going to start a women's professional league. Really disappointed that the powers that be at the time didn't choose Columbus as one of their locations, because Columbus has got a significant women's soccer market. I think we're probably in the top 10 at least in the nation in terms of number of players playing the game, the number of women that are recruited out of Central Ohio to go play Division I soccer. There's a lot of pluses here, and we were looked over in the first go-around in the, what was it at the time, WPS or whatever the first one was. So I was a little disappointed they didn't come into town. And then after 3 years and they failed, I said, what are we going to do for women's soccer? And the second time they came around, I said, good, they're going to make a better go of it. And they bypassed Columbus again. And that lasted 3 years, and then they fell off the map. And then the last time they came around, they missed Columbus again. And so I was at a national soccer coaches meeting out in Philadelphia, And I was bemoaning the fact, once again, that Columbus had been passed over for professional women's soccer, and actually it was Jerry Zanelli that was there representing the WPSL, and he says, why don't you do it? And I looked at him and I said, you got to be nuts. People that are in sports franchises are the guys that have made big money somewhere else, and they have this little project that they do in terms of the sports teams. I don't fit that category. But he got underneath my skin a little bit there, because I'd always told all of my teams that, you got to dream big dreams, and you got to go for it. You never get anywhere if you don't go. And so I kind of took that to heart and said, there's ways to get things started. I might not be the guy that actually brings the professional game here, but I can get the interest started that maybe gets somebody else interested that has the resources to make it happen. So around, September, October of 2013, I got with two other coaching friends, and I looked at them and I said, I'm going to write a check for $6,000 to get this team started. And I said, are you with me? Are we doing this together? And they said, yeah, we're in it. We can make this go. So I borrowed the $6,000 and I sent in the league fees, and we got started. I had no idea whether I had no team. I had no idea whether I even had players. But I paid the money, got slot for Columbus, and put out the call for women. And I got over 150, nearly 200 women emailing me saying, I'm interested in playing. I want to come to tryout, And it was just like I hit gold in terms of the available player pool. So that was not a problem. So we had our first open tryouts and put a team together, and we participated in the summer of 2014. We turned around and did it again in 2015, and this will be our third year in 2016. So that's kind of the history there. I am hoping one day either to turn this team into a pro team or to attract enough interest that maybe somebody else will come out and buy me out and make it a pro team, or somebody else says, hey, this looks pretty good. Why don't we come in and knock him out of the market and put a pro team in there? I don't care, as long as we end up with pro women's soccer in Columbus, Ohio one day.
Oh, wow, that's quite the background there.
Yeah.
I guess I have a bit of a technical question about the WPSL. So the league are all the teams involved amateur, or are they allowed to pay their players, or is there strict regulation on that?
It's technically a pro-am league. I mean, if we wanted to be a pro team, if I wanted to pay my ladies, I could do that. The key is if you have any NCAA players on your roster. If you have only one NCAA player, you can't pay anybody on the team. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that NCAA player will lose their eligibility to play. So you have to make a choice as a team whether you're going to allow college players to play or not allow college players to play, and then you can choose. Because the Chicago Red Stars, the pro team, mm-hmm. there, enters their reserve team mm-hmm. into the WPSL. So I assume that their reserve team is classified as a pro team. I don't know for sure. I assume so. But it seemed like there were a team or two down in Dallas or Houston or whatever that were, they were just pros, just like any other team, and they entered in the WPSL. So there are no rules, as far as I know, whether you are a pro team or an amateur team or a semi-pro or whatever you want to do. You just have to recognize the fact that if you have those college players there, that they can't participate with a pro team or they lose their eligibility.
Okay, great. I guess stylistically, how do you find the level of play at the WPSL level? Is it hard to? I guess it's not hard for you to attract players. I guess what's it like? The style of play anyway at this level.
Well, I think it's fairly good. If we sit. What would I want to say? If we stepped in and tried to play against the women's national team, we get pounded for sure. Although there was a game when we played one of the teams in our district or in our division in previous year was coached by the coach of the Haitian national team. And so he brought most of his Haitian nationals to play on his WPSL team in the summer. So when we were playing them, it felt like you were playing an international team. And, it's one of those things as a coach, you say, well, they got beat by the U.S. by 8 goals, and they only beat us by 1, so we're only 9 goals away from the U.S. national team, that kind of thing. But in general, I think the quality of play is good. I promote it for people coming out into play, especially the younger players that are looking forward to, playing in college or beyond, that come on out and see what it looks like at this level, see what kind of things are done. The only downside for me, and this is just my personal opinion, is that the league allows unlimited substitution. Mm-hmm. And I understand the reasoning behind that, because there's a lot of summer teams that are made up of just college students that are coming to keep their skills sharp, and they need to get in the game and play. I understand that. But the nature of the game changes when you can make unlimited substitution. If the pace of the game is a little faster, people are out there running really hard, and then they come off and they get a sub, where if you had to play with the international rules of 3 subs, then the game would settle down a little bit more, and it would be a little more technical and a little more controlled. But other than that, I think the quality of the play in the WPSL has been very high, and I would really encourage people to come out and take in a game or two and see what they think.
Great. Do you have a certain style of play that you try to implement with your teams? Is there, I guess I have a question I'd like to ask all the people I've had on this series so far, is does the team exhibit a style of play that really reflects on the culture of the city that they represent? For example, I always give my home, I'm from Northwest Ohio, which is, kind of football country, where we're big and strong, and people don't want to see they're more about the athletic ability rather than the skill and the flair.
Right.
Is there a style that Columbus, the city, kind of reflects, and maybe it sees its way onto the field for the Eagles?
Well, that's a good question, but I think the way I'd answer that is the team reflects more of the style of the coach, not the city. However, the city might expect a certain style. For example, in Columbus, is a football town. There's nothing here but OSU football. I always say that if there were 30 murders in town, a mass murder in town, and some guy stubbed his toe in a football team, we'd have headlines: "The guy stubbed his toe in a football scrimmage, and oh, by the way, 30 people got killed today." That's how crazy they are about OSU football. So that being the case, they are all about winning the game. It's whatever it takes to win the game. I don't care what the style is, what it looks like, just go win the game. And my style personally is I want to play a possession-style soccer. I want to be working the ball through the thirds of the field and having some creative stuff going on in there, rather than just booting the ball over somebody's head and having somebody really fast run on it and score a lot of goals. So I'm probably in conflict with the city's expectation, and I have a long view on that. I say, if I have to have a couple seasons where I'm not necessarily successful, but I am building and I'll add personnel and I'll build around what I'm trying to do, and then eventually I'll be successful, I'm okay with that. Whereas I would say the city here in Columbus is much more about, I want results, I want them right now, or I'll go on to something else.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah, so OSU football definitely dominates all the headlines in the Dispatch, and even the Columbus Crew on the MLS struggle to grab the media attention.
It was at least 5 years they were in town before the newspapers would even give them a mention. And so it's showing a lot of growth here in Columbus when we at least have some news articles covering them and some TV, response on that. But, the World Cup could be going on, and Columbus wouldn't care as long as there was something going on at OSU. It was cool,
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of the Columbus Crew, this weekend you guys are actually playing at their stadium, at MAPFRE Stadium, against the Cincinnati Sirens. I was wondering how it was that this game became organized, or, did you approach the crew, or is there a mutual connection there, or how did it all come about?
Well, what really came about is that, I also coach high school soccer. I have for a long time, and they sent me an email from the crew and said, hey, play soccer in the crew stadium. Just sell so many tickets and we let you play a game in the stadium and all that. And I called the crew and said, does this apply for the Eagles as well? Could we, if we could get so many tickets sold, can we come play in the crew stadium? And they said, of course. And especially in the summertime, because we have very few opportunities to bring other events into our stadium during the summer months because school's out and yada yada. So when I mentioned it to them, they took it to their staff, and they got kind of excited about the idea of having somebody like us come into the stadium and play back to back to them. So it was an immediate hit, in my opinion, between us and them in terms of this is something we want to do. And then we just negotiated, how many tickets do we have to sell to make it worthwhile. And then we have some interesting deals that come up where they have advertisers and sponsors in the stadium, and we say, well, we want to set up our sponsors in that, and they say, well, we can't do that. And it's like, oh man, if I can't put my sponsor stuff up, then I'm playing a game in some place where my sponsors can't get their stuff seen. They're not going to be too happy about that. So we had a lot of negotiations to work out, and we got a lot of restrictions on what we're doing in there. But the fact of the matter is on Saturday, it'll be the first time that a WPSL team has ever played in an MLS stadium, in my knowledge. And it's bringing up bringing up the visibility of the women's game, having us play in MAPFRE Stadium. We would have liked a little more marketing support with the crew to, tweet out the information more often and make a big deal about this. But I understand their reluctance. It's the first time. They don't know us from anywhere, and they don't want to end up co-branding or damaging their brand in any way by, encouraging people to come or associating with us or whatever. But we hope that we will be a good tenant. We will put on a good game. Maybe some of their guys will be sitting there and watching and saying, hey, this isn't too bad. Maybe we can do this again in the future. But it's an exciting thing for us. It's going to be neat for the ladies to get out on that pitch and play a full game. And we're hoping to have more than 400 to 500 people there. So that could be fun. We'll be having a tailgate for the players and their fans and everything afterwards, which should be fun. And then we'll go back in and watch and cheer the crew and as they take on Montreal.
Well, that's definitely exciting. I guess just to get a quick update, so you guys this will be game 5 for you this season.
Yep.
How are things going so far? Were there any specific goals that you had in place for the season, being year 2, right, for the club?
Yeah, this year 3.
Oh, year 3.
Yep. And we had some lofty goals that we're struggling with a little bit right now. Our first game, we went out with a tie, which it was, again, a club record for us, getting our first point in the first game, because our first year we didn't get our first point until maybe the last game. So we were excited about that. And then we walked into Dayton, and we held Dayton to 0-0 until like 8 minutes to go, and they snuck one in on us and had a loss there. And Cincinnati, a similar type thing where they got a lone goal, and we held them off the rest of the thing, but didn't get the offense fired up. So we ended up our first 3 games with 2 losses and a tie. And then we went back to Dayton thinking, well, we'll come back and we'll get the job done. Well, we didn't realize that the first game they came to play, they didn't have their full roster. It turns out that they've got some young lady that is on the national team pool.
Yep.
And the
that'd be
second game we played. Yeah.
Rose Laveau, right?
Yeah.
Who was recently called up for those Japan friendlies.
Correct. So she showed up the last game and ended up getting 2 extra goals on us. So we ended up a 3-0 loss there. But, it was 2 goals differential because of her. But I still, we were still playing. Dayton Dutch Lions come out of the W League last year, and that was a much more elite league. and that they had been, I don't know, at some point they had won that W League a couple of years. I don't know if it was recent or near, but they're a quality team. And all it showed to me is that our division, our region, is a high-quality region, and you have to be on your best game to be able to win. Now, we got 4 more games coming. The Cincinnati Sirens, 2 with St. Louis, and one again with Indianapolis, and we're going for the win those last 4. So, we've been working hard improving our offensive conversion rates. We haven't been getting as many opportunities, shots on goal as we'd like, and then we haven't been converting those shots at the highest rate we'd like. But if we continue to play a solid defensive game and make sure that we minimize scoring against us, if we can click our offense into gear, then we're going to be tough to beat.
Great. I guess this is somewhat Eagles related, but right at the end of the season, I saw the announcement that the WPSL Championship weekend is actually going to be hosted in Columbus.
Yes.
Over at Otterbein Stadium. How did that come about? Were you the one who stepped forward as someone who wanted to make that happen, or how did that all come about?
Well, that was me as well. And some people think it's a little crazy, I guess. The rules, I guess, for the WPSL are that they rotate the region that the finals are held in. And so this year was an opportunity for the Midwest region to host. And if we didn't host this year, it would be 5 to 6 years, depending on the number of regions and whatever, before we would ever get an opportunity to host again. So I just approached Jerry at the league and said, well, Jerry, how is this assigned? How do people get to host this thing? And he said, the first person that puts the deposit down that guarantees that they're going to host it is the one that gets it. And I said, I want that event. And I'm not sure that he expected me to jump in on it, because a lot of times they have people who are likely to participate in the Final Four like to have that hosting responsibility, because then their team doesn't have to travel, their expenses are less, and yada yada. So I think you may have to ask the league on this, but I might be one of the first guys that has asked to host, pretty well knowing that we most likely we're not going to be in the Final Four. And I just wanted the event because I think it's good. It supports the Columbus area and the Eagles' plan to have high-level women's soccer in our city. And when I approached the Columbus Sports Commission about helping me bring this to Columbus, they were all about it and all excited about another potential women's sporting event coming into Columbus. And so I sent my money in, and I think the way Jerry responded, I think there were others that had thought about it and might have wanted to come and done it, but I held him to his promise. It said, I got my money in there first. It needs to be mine. But we hope to put on one of the best events that they've ever had. We're trying to fill a stadium full of 2,500 people. We're working on a live feed for the final. If I can